You're watching Camnet News. Thank you so much for choosing us. My name is Sharon Kalimbola, taking you through the headlines this evening. Zambians should give the right answer over President Edgar Lungu's eligibility through the ballot, urges KBF. Palawana University stalled construction works begin to claim lives. PF youths confident of scooping the presidential vote by over 50+1. And in international news, US gravely concerned ahead of elections in Ethiopia. And sports news, parliamentarians relegated to Division 1. Let's take a breather. Join me shortly for the details.
Zambia has embarked on an economic journey for individual financial emancipation, empowering its citizens through land acquisition and developing the nation through agriculture. This time, Zambians are coming together, taking it upon themselves with the help of government to develop this great nation by taking individual responsibility and ownership of this great nation. The economic revolution has started. There are thousands of Zambians with a can-do mindset who are resolute, unstoppable, full of confidence and conviction that Zambia's set time of favor for development is now. Don't be left out. This could be the time you have been waiting for. Camnet Television, in conjunction with the United Agrivision Consultancy Limited, will be hosting a national conference on becoming a millionaire through agriculture. Date 1st October and 2nd October 2021. Charges 750 kwacha per person per day, that includes lunch. A limited number of participants through Zoom have also been reserved. You can also be part of the conference from the comfort of your home by registering online via Zoom, joining the people who were born for greatness. Charges for participation via Zoom are only 300 kwacha per person. Time 0730 hours to 17 hours. Registration and confirmation of attendance will take place on the 29th of September 2021. Time 14 hours to 17 hours. Venue the Healing Word Ministries International, the home of Camnet Television in Abex Hill, Kabulonga Road, Lusaka.
Once again, thank you for choosing us. The news in detail. Foundation for Democratic Process FODEP has commended Chapter 1 Foundation, the Legal Resources Foundation, and Dr. Sishoa, a lecturer at the University of Zambia, for making an attempt to defend the Zambian constitution in the matter of eligibility of President Edgar Lungu in the August 12th general election. FODEP Executive Director George Chimembe, however, says the Constitution's court outcome of the judgment is a victory for democracy, not only for Zambia's Republican President Edgar Lungu. Mr. Chimembe says in a democratic country like Zambia, citizens must really exercise their constitutional rights by seeking court interventions in matters they feel aggrieved to. He says the Constitutional Court and other courts in the country must always resort to sound principles of law, including the principles espoused in the law, which provides that justice shall be done to all without discrimination. Meanwhile, Mr. Chimembe has predicted more court petitions against President Edgar Lungu before the August general elections due to what he terms as continuous abuse of the Republican Constitution.
By commending our Chapter 1 Foundation, the Legal Resources Foundation Limited, and the UNG'S lecturer for making an attempt to defend the Republican Constitution as provided under Article 2 of the Constitution by seeking court intervention in the matter of the eligibility of President Lungu. Well, FODEP will not concern itself with the merits or demerits of the case. However, FODEP notes with satisfaction that the court action, together with the outcome, is a victory for democracy in Zambia, and not only for President Lungu and his cohorts. FODEP is of the view that in a democratic society like ours, citizens must freely exercise their constitutional rights by seeking court intervention in matters such as those brought before the Court in the recent past. And this is why in exercising judicial authority, the Con Court and all other courts in Zambia must always resort to sound principles of law, including the provisions or the principles espoused under Article 118, Clause 2 of the Republican Constitution, which, among others, provides that justice shall be done to all without discrimination.
In a related development, prominent Lusaka lawyer Kelvin Fubewalia has charged that the Constitutional Court ruling over President Edgar Lungu's eligibility will be respected but with reservations. Addressing the media Saturday, Mr. Fube has advised the Zambian people to make a ruling in line with the Constitution of Zambia and not give the third term to President Lungu. He says the Zambian people have the power to exercise their right through the ballot. Mr. Walia has been consistent with the eligibility of President Edgar Lungu, reminding the Zambians that the court has given the Zambian people the wrong answer.
The Constitutional Court has now pronounced itself. Being law-abiding citizens, we shall make sure that we obey that ruling. However, again, the real question that the Zambians must be asking themselves is the same question that the court was asked. Is Mr. Lungu going to be allowed to run for a third term? That is the question before us as a nation. That is the question before us as individual voters. And I want the Zambians on the 12th of August 2021 to come back with one vote, one verdict, and tell this particular individual, this candidate of the field, that the Zambians have always said no to third terms. Our history as a nation is known on this subject. All of the commissions and the review commissions to do with the Constitution, the Mongomba Commission, Monakato Commission, the Mvunga Commission, you name them. You as journalists keep history. You know this is one particular subject that the Zambians have always insisted on. There should be no third term for a president. So if to answer that question, forget the 9 judges that sat, maybe less one. This question is now within our rights as Zambians. We have the power. And the power we must exercise on the 12th of August is to tell this individual there will be no third term in this country.
In speaking at the same briefing, United Party for National Development UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema has called for unity of purpose among the Zambian people in order for the country to achieve economic emancipation. Mr. Hichilema says this year's election is an important mark in the history of Zambia and for the greater good of the people. Meanwhile, 2 political parties have joined the UPND Alliance, namely All Progressive Alliance led by Tetani Mwanza and All People's Congress Party led by Nelson Musoni.
Freedom fighters, very, very appreciative of their decision. Their decision, Mr. Musoni, President Musoni, President Mwanza, to be on the right side of history, the side of the people, clearly deciding so. Such a decision must be commended by all of us Zambians. All of us, without exception, except a few that are damaging the country every single day at the expense of the millions that are going to bed without food. So thank you, colleagues and chair of the Alliance. Thank you for carrying that subject quite well. And only to say that others are welcome. I think that's an obvious statement. Others are welcome because this is a defining moment for this country. On the left is the PF, it's the bad, it's the corrupt. Everything. On the right is the people of Zambia, it's this alliance, it's the bona fide churches, it is everybody. So, since there's no middle ground, no middle position, we ask others that are indecisive, that are still undecided, to be on the side of the people. That's how it was in the early 60s. Colonialists were on the left, oppressing us. On the right, the people of Zambia came together, all of them. Even when they tried to divide themselves before the elections taught them something, that you can't work against the will of the people, and they had to come together. Very critical. Unity of purpose. That's what those two have demonstrated. 1991.
Patriotic Front Lusaka District Youth Information and Publicity Secretary Jonas Chisamba has charged that Lusaka is a stronghold for the Patriotic Front and the Nogo area for other political parties, especially the United Party for National Development. Commenting on the recent fracas that happened in Mandevo constituency between the Patriotic Front and the United Party for National Development, Mr. Chisamba says what happened is a clear demonstration of accepting defeat by the UPND. Meanwhile, UPND member Cassius Akapelwa says the people have already decided to give the UPND a vote in the August 12th general elections. Miriam Kaimba filed this report.
Zambia political violence continues to be a central part of political competition across the nation and takes many forms, from assault to armed clashes between groups of youths called cadres. With only 60 days remaining for the country to go toward the polls, the battle of who will succeed continues amongst political parties. However, those with the power to decide remain the general citizens. The Patriotic Front Party says it is unfortunate that the opposition United Party for National Development have continued to engage in violence, a clear indication that they have accepted defeat, knowing very well that Lusaka is the PF stronghold.
You never find a PF member starting a fight. Even in Mandevo, no PF member followed the UPND. The UPND just found people putting on our party guy and started beating them. They will be meeting people putting on PF members, who are PF members who are putting on PF regalia. Let them embrace that. And this is Lusaka. Lusaka is a stronghold for PF. Election by 60%, 60 plus, not 50 plus, 60 plus. We are winning this election. All well-meaning Zambians, they know, and they have hope in EDGAR. That's why today we have people who left PF are coming back. It's because of the confidence, and they have seen that wherever they have gone, there is no future, there is no life. Life is in PF.
Meanwhile, the UPND states that it is time for the PF to pack and go because they are not as popular as they claim to be.
We managed to defeat them physically, and they scampered in no direction. Why did they stand the pressure? Lusaka is gone, and it's raid on the hand of the UPND Alliance. Those claims that they are stronger in Lusaka, it's on the natural fact that they are doing door-to-door campaigns and they are being chased. So I don't know which is strong. The problem with PF is that they are full of malice. Malice in the sense that they've overrated themselves, they have continuously continued angering the people, and they don't realize that the more they cause this violence, the more they are losing even the little grip they have in Lusaka, because they cannot claim they are stronger on the ground in Lusaka. Let them do the similar roadshows we are doing, if at all they are going to have the people following them. And I mean people who are voters, not children.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Meanwhile, former Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampiongo has condemned the political violence that have continued to characterize most parts of the country, especially during political gatherings. Mr. Kampiongo has since urged the police to ensure that there is sanity in the country during this election time. He notes that violence has no place in the political landscape of this country.
Condemn the violence that seems to be, taking place in some quarters, and I'm happy that the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Home Affairs, together with the Zambia Police, are taking these matters seriously, and the sooner they get to deal firmly with perpetrators of this violence, the better.
Hope for Africa International has welcomed the judgment by the Ndola High Court on whether the Electoral Commission of Zambia ETHIOPIA was within the law to ban political rallies. Organization Executive Director Chazingwa Daka says his organization is of the view that the judgment was timely and that all well-meaning Zambians should be in support of the board decision taken by ETHIOPIA as it will mitigate the impact of the third wave of the COVID-19. Mr. Daka says it is surprising to note that some political parties and non-governmental organizations are calling for the resignation of ETHIOPIA Chief Electoral Officer Patrick Shindano, while others are saying he will go into history as the worst electoral officer for doing what is right in the present circumstances. And Mr. Daka says his foundation is disappointed with the reported political violence in some parts of the country.
In support of the board decision taken by Electoral Commission of Zambia, we commend ETHIOPIA for the decision, as this will mitigate the impact of the third wave of COVID-19. If one was to analyze the current spike, one would not be wrong to attach it to activities before and during the nomination of candidates. ETHIOPIA and Ministry of Health had put in preventive measures by reducing the number of people to accompany the candidates, but as usual, supporters and cadres came in their huge numbers. It is therefore surprising to note that some political parties and civil society organizations are calling for the resignation of ETHIOPIA CEO Mr. Patrick Shindano, while others are saying he will go into history as the worst CEO ever for doing what is right in the present circumstances. We therefore call upon Mr. Patrick Shindano and his team at ETHIOPIA to remain resolute and continue to do what is right in order for Zambia to have a safe, free and fair election amid the third wave of COVID-19. However, Hope for Africa International is deeply disappointed with the reported political violence in some parts of the country. If left unchecked, this violence may not only divide the country, but also put this great nation on a political turmoil.
Police in Lusaka have arrested Joseph Sakala, aged 23, of Angels area, Kabanana compound for pulling down and destroying campaign materials for the Patriotic Front Mandevu aspiring Member of Parliament. Police spokesperson Esther Katongo says the incident is reported to have occurred on the 11th of June 2021 at 16:30 hours in Chazanga compound at Angels Clinic. The suspect has since been detained in police custody awaiting court appearance. Mrs. Katongo has meanwhile reminded all political party sympathizers to avoid destroying other political party campaign materials, adding that the act is criminal. On this note, we take a break. Join me shortly for more interesting stories.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, downlights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Mwanga Nkumbula International Airport, located just 15 kilometers from the Victoria Falls, is now one of the best and busiest airports that Zambia has. Vote for EDGAR Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
At Master Signs, our services range from outdoor, indoor signage such as billboards, banners, 3D light boxes, pylons and neon signs. We are located at plot number 397A, Makeni Road, Lusaka, at Oryx Filling Station. For more details, call us on +260 967 100 090 or +260 966 999 981, or better still, email us at infomastersign@gmail.com. Master Sign, we will make it shine.
Every day for me means hard work. Going to sell my goods at the local market. To get more customers, I have my secret. Oracle Pure Glycerin. It's soft, smooth, and keeps my skin perfect. And my customers know it. Thank you, Oracle, for my perfect skin.
Zambia has embarked on an economic journey for individual financial emancipation, empowering its citizens through land acquisition and developing the nation through agriculture. This time, Zambians are coming together, taking it upon themselves with the help of government to develop this great nation by taking individual responsibility and ownership of this great nation. The economic revolution has started. There are thousands of Zambians with a can-do mindset who are resolute, unstoppable, full of confidence and conviction that Zambia's set time of favor for development is now. Don't be left out. This could be the time you have been waiting for. Camnet Television, in conjunction with the United Agrivision Consultancy Limited, will be hosting a national conference on becoming a millionaire through agriculture. Date 1st October and 2nd October 2021. Charges 750 kwacha per person per day, that includes lunch. A limited number of participants through Zoom have also been reserved. You can also be part of the conference from the comfort of your home by registering online via Zoom, joining the people who were born for greatness. Charges for participation via Zoom are only 300 kwacha per person. Time 0730 hours to 17 hours. Registration and confirmation of attendance will take place on the 29th of September 2021. Time 14 hours to 17 hours. Venue the Healing Word Ministries International, the home of Camnet Television in Apex Hill, Kapalonga Road, Lusaka.
You're still watching Camnet TV. Thank you so much for staying on. Residents of Chongwe district have described the stored works at Palawana University as a death trap to the community. Richard Kanzemiyango, a resident of Chongwe, tells Camnet TV that recently a child fell from the top of one of the unfinished buildings, leading to her death, which he says could have been avoided. Mr. Kanzemiyango has wondered why government has taken this long to finish the construction of the university. Meanwhile, a check by Camnet TV found that some of the constructed lecturers' houses have been vandalized by unknown people. Prudence Chota was there and filed this report.
Zambia's late President Michael Chilufya Sata had on Friday, 17th May 2013, laid the foundation stone for the construction of the Palawana University in Chongwe district. But following his death in 2014, construction work at the university stalled and have never resumed since then. This stalled infrastructure has now become a death trap to the community, which saw a boy fall from the top of the building while trying to get a clear view of a soccer match that was taking place in the ground next to the infrastructure. Members of the community have since described the stalled works as a death trap and have lamented that such is a waste of government resources.
The community. Why do I say so? Kuna accident inang pamene hapa should be 4th floor. Mwana anagwa pamwamba paja with the intention of kufuna kutamba bola ika ground the other way kuri ground kuja, so bana wafuna kutamba bola pamwamba paja tuwazitambira pamwamba bola. So that's the reason why I'm saying this thing is now becoming a threat to the community. And should we now expect infa ya muntu then wakakambe kutino deposa series building, and that shouldn't happen.
And United Party for National Development UPND aspiring Councillor Dickson Shamba says the construction of the university in the area was supposed to be a gift to the community, which could have brought a lot of development. He adds that it is now sad to see that this beautiful infrastructure is being used for illicit activities by the young ones.
This is the demise of the late Michael Chilufya Sata. Everything has come to a standstill. There is no any activity which is happening at this building. This time it has become a hiding place for criminals. Even our little girls and boys are conducting their illicit activities from the same building. So in short, it has become a danger to the community. The government in place has no plans for the same building. This time it would have been in completion.
And houses that are supposed to house lecturers at the university are complete, only awaiting the installation of power. While huge sums of money have been spent on the infrastructure, a check by Camnet News found that the houses are now being vandalized by unknown members of the community. And government had on 9th March 2021 announced that it had released 10 million kwacha to Palawana University in Chongwe district for the completion of the infrastructure. Palawana University Principal Kelvin Musonda confirmed the development when Chongwe Member of Parliament Japhet Mwakalombe paid a courtesy call on him before touring the institute. What is worrisome to note is that 3 months from the time government announced that it had released the 10 million kwacha for the completion of works at Palawana University, no works have commenced, but only vendors squatting in these buildings. And the question that one may ask is what has happened to the 10 million kwacha that government released for this infrastructure. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A 42-year-old woman of Lusaka West is demanding justice in a case where her mother was mysteriously killed in Etezitezi district while on a business trip. Sylvia Banda has narrated to Camnet News that her mother was killed when she went for business in 2018 by a known suspect who was arrested and later released without the matter having been gone to court. Mrs. Banda says the forensic experts and the Zambia police were deployed in the area where they collected the suspected remains of her mother in 2019, which they have been holding on to till now without any explanation as to what led to her death. She says she has lamented that justice has not been served in the death of her mother, which she is now calling for details in this.
She has been described as an angel sent by God to groom her 2 daughters to be responsible women. Josephine Namutenda had her life cut short in 2018 by a non-suspect in Etezitezi district of Central Province during the caterpillar season where she had gone for business. Sylvia Banda, the daughter to the deceased, has narrated to Camnet News that she noticed in 2019 that her mother had not communicated to any of her relatives for over 3 months, which prompted them to investigate what had happened to their mother.
Business. She was a business lady. She went to Etezitezi for the last time that we spoke with her. The last time we communicated, it was in October. She was saying she's coming back. When she went there, she went missing. When we discovered that Vaenda, without any communication, because she never stays back, she never used to stay back without communicating back home. Pametina Botashta discovered she's not calling back. We suspected there's something happening. then we made a follow-up.
She adds that after making several inquiries into the matter, the non-suspect led them to the remains of a human skull and other few items that pointed to their mother.
After 4 days, itabwabwa titenga atipeleka ku site kwa minoko kuna akwamana kwa kama tempeleka nkansu kwa mena wasia. Pameti naenda usanga huko hapo atuza tinia hapa. So pameti na bwatambili la kwa blood tag kama tunga mzimali banafa. Jebet na bwata checking kupopeza awuzona tinapeza shefati na skull kwa other side kwenda kukurukira wetu manopoka but me have been a poacher for a long time. Uyu ni mundu. So nebana bwatingira skull here.
Forensics were sent to the area where they collected the remains of their suspected mother. It says up to now, the forensics have not released any information of what might have been the cause of their mother's death.
Tikaenda kukwenda kufunza ati ai ma agents akalipofika for 3 years now my agents could for how long are we going to wait because time ya pita up and we need to bury those things. Even manje other people's issues like my recent cases they are being attended to and they are burying. We are seeing people are being buried, those who were murdered they are being buried, but it's a case here there is nothing happening. If we didn't make any follow-up they don't update us. So what are we going to do? Because does it mean that if we don't have money, there's nothing that justice can't be prevailed? Is it because we are poor?
The suspect was arrested but later released before the matter could be taken to the court of law, despite all evidence pointing to him. But when contacted for a comment, Itezi police inspector identified as Inspector Ngala told this reporter that he picked up the case from his colleague after being transferred to the district in 2020, which he says he will be following up in 2 weeks' time.
And as I'm talking now, a cruiser is in Kabwe, where they are repairing the cruiser engine and whatever. So when they are done, I have to make a step forth, go to head office and check what is exactly what did they find? Because we gave them, I told they gave the right up, but then they're supposed to give us a right, but they say no, follow us. So I said, okay, if that's the case, so we need to go there and follow them and then check what they've done. So in short update, it gives me, I think 2 weeks ultimate time. I think we need to be done with that matter.
And Central Province Police Commissioner Chola Katanga, when contacted for a comment, told this reporter that he was not aware of the case, but that since it has brought to his attention, he will follow up the matter. Many murder cases have gone unsolved, while the perpetrators have walked scot-free looking for their next victim. This family feels troubled every day, living with the guilt of not knowing what might have happened to their beloved mother. They feel the case has taken too long to solve and wants justice to prevail in this case, as their mother died by simply trying to make ends meet at the hands of a selfish individual who wanted to reap where he did not sow. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Concerned Citizens for Justice and Human Rights, an organization that strives to fight gender-based violence, has reaffirmed its commitment to fighting the vice. Organization Executive Director Richard Nkoa notes that recently a report was received in Kanyama involving a 36-year-old woman who was tortured by her husband using different tools on her private parts. Mr. Nkoa says the organization will not rest till the man who is on the run is found in order to set it as an example to would-be offenders. Mr. Nkoa has noted that the increase of gender-based violence has a direct impact on the social economy of the country, hence the need for various stakeholders to take interest in matters of fighting gender-based violence.
The last week, that's when we received a complaint by a lady, aged 36 years, who came to complain before our office to say that she's being abused by the husband. Mostly when the husband comes from work, he comes to check on private parts. If anything, it takes something like a plus to try and torture the wife, so that she can review if she had a private affair with another man. And this issue reported before the police is being investigated by the police. So far, as organization, we are making up a follow-up to know how far the matter has gone so that we help the lady. I think that's what we are doing. The man is nowhere to be seen as for now. Immediately when he heard that this matter has been reported to the police. So the matter is being handled by the police, and we are waiting to see that this man is arrested. That's what we want. And that is our aim, so that we deter the abusers of women and the children. I think that's the position what we are doing as an organization. We are not just sitting idle. We are moving forward to see that the cases of gender-based violences are reduced to zero.
Vice President Inonge Wina has commended Zambia Research Network, ZAMBIANS, for its contribution to the growth of the education sector by providing a dedicated internet platform for sharing data, information and knowledge among scholar educators and learners countrywide. Mrs. Wina was speaking virtually at a ZAMBIANS fundraising dinner whose proceeds will help build offices at the University of Zambia and also increase equipment and service capacity to reach more universities, colleges, technical schools as part of implementing government's policy of promoting science, technology, engineering and mathematics STEM subjects across the country. Meanwhile, ZAMBIANS chairperson Professor Helesi Ngambi, who is also Mulungushi University Vice Chancellor, says the use of ICTs in education still remains a challenge, especially in rural areas.
It marks yet another important milestone in the world of national research and education network, at which we are raising money for the construction of offices which will enable Zambia to expand services and provide quality services to many learning and research and professional institutions in rural and urban areas of our country. Your Honor, it is a historical fact that rural learners have been subjected to discrimination in accessing digital resources, while the urban learners have enjoyed a favorable privilege. Your Honor, as an advocate of equality and equity yourself,
proceeds will help to build offices at the University of Zambia and also to increase equipment and sales capacity to reach more universities, colleges and technical schools as part of implementing government policy of promoting science, technology, engineering and mathematics STEM subjects across the country. This decision is deliberate, taking into account that the world is now driven by technology and engineering skills and practices. As such, acquiring the foundation for the next generation development models powered by technology is a must for Zambia. However,
you're still watching Camnet News. We take another set of commercials. Join me shortly for international and sports news.
To some, he is a symbol of hope, while to others, a chance for a better life, progress, growth and development. Everywhere he goes, the Zambian people have enthusiastically received him with love and passion. They have proudly welcomed him all across different provinces, districts, and communities. They are ready for change, a brand new chapter that will give Zambians a chance to save their home, our beloved country, the future of our children. We have a chance to elevate and take Zambia forward. There is no time to look behind. The time for change is now. So take action and vote Hakainde Hichilema.
President EDGAR Lungu and the Patriotic Front have transformed the transportation sector by facilitating the construction of bus stations around the country. Vote for EDGAR Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
In this fast-paced era of industrial boom and population growth, there is need to invest in smart ways of managing electricity and water consumption and reducing utility billing costs associated with the postpaid billing system. At Savenda Electronics, we manufacture right here in Zambia different types of high-quality smart electricity and water meters to customer specifications. Savenda Electronics water and electricity meters help you monitor your usage and gives notifications such as low units, tampering, low battery, and many other features. These easy-to-use meters makes it easier to buy units even in these COVID times and top up just from the comfort of your space. Favorable contract terms are available to both electricity and water utilities. For more details, get in touch with us on the following numbers: 0956 580 349 or 0977 498 318. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
Zambia has embarked on an economic journey for individual financial emancipation, empowering its citizens through land acquisition and developing the nation through agriculture. This time, Zambians are coming together, taking it upon themselves with the help of government to develop this great nation by taking individual responsibility and ownership of this great nation. The economic revolution has started. There are thousands of Zambians with a can-do mindset who are resolute, unstoppable, full of confidence and conviction that Zambia's set time of favor for development is now. Don't be left out. This could be the time you have been waiting for. Camnet Television, in conjunction with the United Agrivision Consultancy Limited, will be hosting a national conference on becoming a millionaire through agriculture. Date: 1st October and 2nd October 2021. Charges: 750 kwacha per person per day, that includes lunch. A limited number of participants through Zoom have also been reserved. You can also be part of the conference from the comfort of your home by registering online via Zoom, joining the people who were born for greatness. Charges for participation via Zoom are only 300 kwacha per person. Time: 0730 hours to 17 hours. Registration and confirmation of attendance will take place on the 29th of September 2021. Time: 14 hours to 17 hours. Venue: the Healing Word Ministries International, the home of Camnet Television in Apex Hill, Kabulonga Road, Lusaka.
You're still watching Camnet News. Thank you for staying on. In international news, the United States President Joe Biden is calling for a swift end to the conflict in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region. His comments are the strongest years for the United States and follow new visa restrictions on senior officials. But Ethiopia's government is warning it will reassess its ties with Washington if the U.S. continue to interfere in its internal affairs. Al Jazeera also reports that France has announced an end to its direct role in operations in Africa's Sahel, but the security of the region is as uncertain as ever. The French president has for years struggled to convince Western allies to join an international task force against armed groups there. The issue leaves European countries concerned about the rise in migrants due to human trafficking. Let's get the details in this international roundup.
A rare sight on the streets of the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa. Thousands of pro-government demonstrators carrying placards and chanting slogans against the United States. Keep your hands off Ethiopia. Ethiopia doesn't need a caretaker, they chant. Last month, the U.S. imposed sanctions on economic and security assistance to Ethiopia due to the conflict in Tigray. Washington also said it will bar current and former Ethiopian and Eritrean officials from entering the United States if they are deemed responsible for carrying out atrocities in the region. Since then, the public sentiment against the U.S. in Ethiopia has been growing.
Ethiopia is an independent and sovereign state that should deal with its own issues on its own. We do not need the U.S. meddling and interfering in our internal affairs. They should stop.
We are now facing challenges in terms of inflation and the high cost of living, and if the pressure from the US continues, things will become even more difficult for us Ethiopians.
The sanctions and visa restrictions represent a turning point in relations between the two countries that have soured since the conflict in the northern region of Tigray erupted last November. It's led to reports of atrocities, mass violence along ethnic lines, and war crimes being committed against civilians by Ethiopian and Eritrean troops.
Yes, the issues are very much important. They need to be sorted out. Issues of human rights. Atrocities which have been committed in Tigray should be investigated. People who have been responsible should be apprehended. I don't have any doubt about this, but confrontation kinds of relationship between Ethiopia and the US might at the end take Ethiopia to the east, which could be counterproductive.
The Ethiopian government has dismissed criticism of its handling of the crisis in Tigray.
It is in the interest of Ethiopians and the Ethiopian government as well to nurture this relationship. We don't want to spoil it, and we don't think it's right on the part of the US leadership to work towards spoiling this relationship, because this relationship is to the benefit of both Ethiopians and Americans, both countries. It is also to the interest of the regional peace and stability.
Ethiopia has received more than $5 billion from the US government over the past 5 years towards humanitarian projects and development. That does not include additional funding for security, which hasn't been disclosed. Remittances from Ethiopia's global diaspora is estimated at $4.6 billion, with most originating from the United States, where about 1 million Ethiopians live. For many years, the United States has viewed Ethiopia as a country with a great potential, a country with a large population and a rapidly growing economy that has often played an outsized role in peacekeeping missions in Africa and beyond. But with a shift in US foreign policy in Africa, which is now more about checking the rise of China and Russia and not terrorism, analysts say Ethiopia might have lost its favored status with the United States.
France has 5,100 soldiers stationed across the Sahel, a region stretching thousands of kilometers across the southern Sahara Desert, including Mali, Burkina Faso, Chad and Niger. French, American and European troops have for years tried to improve security, especially along international borders. But the scale and frequency of attacks by groups affiliated to ISIL and Al-Qaeda are increasing in a region that has become a major transit route for human trafficking and smuggling of weapons and illegal drugs. At least 138 men, women and children were killed in an attack on a village in northern Burkina Faso last week. France has repeatedly called on Western states to help more with security in the Sahel. But on Thursday, the French president announced a partial withdrawal of troops and said the operation must become a broader international mission.
After consulting with our American partners, whose support is essential since the beginning, and I want to thank them for that, our European partners, we're going to deeply transform our military presence in the Sahel. We'll announce the new framework in the weeks to come. This transformation will translate into a new model that will end Barkhane operation.
Leaders of countries across the Sahel warned President Macron in February about the dangers of a fast French troop withdrawal. But since then, Chad's veteran leader and close ally of France, Idriss Déby, has been killed. And last week, France paused military operations in Mali after the country suffered its second military coup in 9 months.
There is a message that with this withdrawal of the French Barkhane operation from the region, it will give a feeling of winning from the terrorist and violent extremist groups from that perspective. They will feel that they have defeated actually the Barkhane French operation.
Macron said the French troop withdrawal will be gradual and details of the new international force will be finalised by the end of June after discussions with European and African states. The deteriorating security situation across this impoverished region is a major concern for European countries anxious about a surge in migrants and refugees crossing the Mediterranean Sea.
Well, that's it for Global News. We now take our focus to sports news. The National Assembly Football Club has been relegated to the first Provincial Division 1 Lusaka from the first Eden University to National Division 1 League after their goalless draw against Mpulungu Harbour at Mozabwera grounds. The club joins Kashikishi Warriors and Zesco Shockers. This leaves one more slot yet to be announced. Well, that sporting item ends our news this evening. The headlines once again. Zambians should give the right answer over President Edgar Lungu's eligibility through the ballot, urges KBF. Palawana University stalled construction works begin to claim lives. And PF youths confident of scooping the presidential vote by over 50+1. In international news, US gravely concerned ahead of elections in Ethiopia. And in sports news, parliamentarians relegated to Division 1. We now look at the Camnet verse for the day, and it's coming from Psalms 19, verse 1 to 2, and it reads, The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech, night after night they reveal knowledge. That's all we could accommodate for you on the news desk this evening. Thank you so much for choosing us. Remember to observe the COVID-19 health guidelines, especially in the work of the third wave. My name is Sharon Kalimola. Good night. Thanks for watching.